see what I'm doing. So I just want to, this is the partner website. If you haven't, so they've gone through some changes semi recently. If you haven't re-registered for it since the first time you registered, you will have to do that again because of the changes. This time you get to come up with your own password and actually sign in with your email address. It used to be just kind of an open-ended thing, and if you had the password you could just log in, but now it's very specific to partners. So please do register if you haven't in a long time. So this is the home page. It kind of just talks about what it is to be a partner. There's a couple resources and videos down here, but really I'm gonna go into a lot of these pieces in the home page menu. So if we click on kernels, it sends us to this beautiful, colorful page, which is also brand new, and it goes through each kernel and queue, including the game. And as you click one of these boxes, and I'm just going to go for vision right now, there's a number of resources in each of them, and it's the same outline for each of them. So there's a recipe card, a newsletter, and then a number of videos and reproducibles. And that's kind of the makeup of every kernel and queue box that you click on. So if you click on the recipe card, it kind of goes into this, like, how do you do this? How do you do the vision? And it gives you these tools to really start some conversations with your teachers. It's just a little one-pager, like, of important things to keep in mind. And then you can talk to your teachers about concerns that they might have about the vision, and then how to use it in different circumstances and how the students could get involved in addressing any goals that they have. So the recipe cards are actually a really awesome tool. I think that if you attended the gathering this year, we included recipe cards in that binder that we handed out. So that's also on the website. I think the newsletter also links you to just a little blurb about how to talk about vision with your teachers as you partner them, and the step-by-step guide of how to do vision. So that's just a little two-pager. I think most of them are 1 or 2 pages long about those pieces about how to do the vision. And then what I think is really great on each of these is the videos. So there's a partnering video, an implementation video, and the kernel rationale. I kind of wish that there were like little pictures because I can't quite remember which one's which. But I think this one is the one about Claire and Jeanette. For some of you might have met either of those folks, either as a trainer or PAX partner trainer. But they're talking to each other about what it is to partner and how it is to partner. And then this talks about the implementation of that vision, and then the rationale of that kernel. So these videos are really great. Back in the day when we had a online portion of the PAX partner training and really stuck to that, these videos were a huge part of that online PAX partner training. I kind of miss that because I do think these videos are really wonderful and good resources, but they're on the web for you guys and you can use them as you partner, which I think is great. And then of course at the bottom here, there's all these great reproducibles. This is that recipe card. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me. Thanks. So there's that recipe card. Here's the more and less of the vision that you can use. Here's some really cute worksheets about giving your students an idea of what the greatest classroom, thank you, what the greatest classroom could look like and what the most wonderful school could look like in terms of a school-wide vision and a classroom vision. And then we'll talk a little bit more about this, but I really love this resource of the implementation feedback planning sheet. I think it's a really great tool, and I think it's actually the same. It's the same in each one of those little boxes for the kernels on the website. So you could just print one, make lots of copies, but it's some really good guiding questions for partnering with teachers. And this is what we actually took and redesigned for something to substitute the fidelity scale and spleen checks and the spleen counts for this year in terms of, those partner requirements towards your stipend, which we'll talk about a little later because I just want to get a gauge on how people are doing on that, or what their thoughts are. Okay, so I'm just going to go back. There's all these things popping up. Go back to this.
Michelle, draw your attention to the chat real quick. Leah wanted to know if the videos are able to fast forward and rewind, and I said yes, but I just wanted to confirm that with you.
They are not, actually.
They're not. Okay.
They are annoyingly not. And I don't know why. That's a really great question, Leah. I don't know why on the website you can't quite click on like where you want them to be. But there are a lot of Paxis videos that are similar to this. If you could find them on, oh gosh, what's that site called with a V, which has all those videos?
Vimeo.
Yeah, Vimeo, that one. Thank you. Yeah, so if you search for like certain kernels and cues on that website, there's a lot of really great videos on there that you can click on and fast forward through. They are not the same as these videos though, and unfortunately you can't. It sucks, but it's true. Unless they changed that. Let me double check because I might be wrong.
Jeanette, what would you say?
Look, I'm wrong. They have changed that. So this one, yeah, you can move through. And look, you can even make them big now. Look, they changed the site. It's exciting. Thanks for asking that, Leah. That's awesome. Yeah, so this one, so I was right. The partnering one is that conversation between Jeanette and
That's
Claire.
why it's really important that when with the, kids love to say, I don't want to see bullying anymore, but define bullying. Give me an example. What do you think bullying is? Because bullying to you.
And so I love those videos in particular. I think they're really great. And these two have more conversations about why this kernel and how to do it. So that's great that they changed that because that was awful back in the past. Great question, Leah. Thanks. So again, same sort of resources depending on that kernel and cue, and you can click on all of these, and it's really awesomely there for you. So I really highly recommend you explore that page. If you go back to the menu and look at implementation support, there's some really awesome surveys and guides, I guess. Here's a little action plan that you can talk with your teacher about. If you're really working on that, this is a great space for you to take notes about what you guys talk about and make sure you're getting resources and materials to that teacher that you're working with on a one-on-one level when you create these action plans. I really love this, and we might do something with this in the near future, but it looks at an implementation guide for the partner and how to engage the administrator and develop some supports. So we might use this in the near future as we have this time to actually look at this and deliberate how we want to use it. But I think it's a really great tool, and it looks at phase 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe 5, and it puts it into the week of rollout. So this says weeks 1 through 4, and then if you look at phase 2, it's 5 through 8, and then 9 through 12, and then I just think 4 and 5, and then just general like rolling out from that point onward. So this is a really great tool of like, hey, this could be a cool checklist for what I can do during this time that we're rolling out and what phase we're in the rollout. I think that's a cool tool. You're not external partners, so I'm not going to click on that. But if you are an external partner, if you're a district role partner, that might be something you want to look at. I know that Farmington has a district level partner, CCSD does, Santa Fe does. So some external partners might want to look at that one, but I'm not going to click on it today. And then I think many of you will see have seen this rollout calendar. It goes through those phases of 1 through 4, 5 through 8, 9 through 12, and 13 through 16 weeks. We're going to actually create one of these this week for the virtual rollout and what you guys can do with PACS on virtually and in other distance learning sort of ways, so that we can identify what the teacher can do, the parent could do, the partner could do, and even what the administrator can do. And we'll try to send that out towards the end of the week. But in other circumstances, like if we actually come back in August and everything is all good and well, these are great tools to use for your rollout. Here's that implementation feedback plan that we saw earlier under the vision, and it's probably under every kernel and Q. And then here's a sustainability team conversation guide. So if you guys, which we're highly recommending and know that it's challenging to be a partner making this happen on your own, but if you have a team that you can create that helps you in sustaining PACS at your school, this is a great tool to start the conversation and continue the conversation through, bi-weekly or maybe monthly meetings with a team of teachers that are really into PACS and can help you roll it out at a school-wide level. And you get to, note who's present and what you're focusing on that week or month, the struggles and the barriers and how to overcome them, and really some successes as well. So this is always a really cool one about how you might measure any progress that's happening at your school, and how you might ask your admin for specific support. I know Bev is on the call with us today, and she has used this in her practice of working with sustainability teams out in different states. So I do think this is a great tool, and maybe, I don't know, Bev, if you want to speak more to it. Is she there? We might have lost her. Okay, I don't know if she's there.
I just don't know if she heard you.
Yeah. We'll rope her in again. We're going to talk about the PACS Up app, but here are the guides if you need them. And it's also has a teacher guide in case you have someone who's missing it. You can quickly print that out. I'm not going to go too much into detail about PACS and PBIS, but there is a page on that if you are a PBIS and PACS school. This might be some really awesome resource for you in terms of both videos and some printables to talk about how PACS and PBIS really work together well. There's some data tools. So we have the PACS minutes formula. There's our spleen counting form in case you don't want to do it via the app. It's always here and available for you. We have the implementation survey, which is different than the perfect survey, but quite similar in a lot of ways. We don't ask this of you guys anymore, but it might be a good tool to use when partnering, especially the perfect survey, which can go into a lot of details about each kernel and Q and how to practice with fidelity. And then you can have you and your teacher maybe fill this out and see where you're seeing differences and or similarities. The implementation survey is like a cut down version of that, and it's on the app, but we don't use it because we find it's not giving us really awesome data. Here's the Everyday Scientist experiment, which is a way for you to kind of graph. You can have your teachers graph their spleen counts if they're doing their own spleen counts over time, and how many spleens per minute. And so it's like a fun math activity. There's the scoreboards if you're tracking weekly PACS minutes. That can help you do what we see Cesar Chavez do here in Santa Fe, is have that that beautiful board of minutes in their front hallway. If you guys have seen that in our other presentations that we've shared, it's a really great way to track minutes and have healthy competition between classrooms. We talk a little bit about that in the often forgotten elements of PACS presentation that will be later today or tomorrow, I can't remember. I really love this survey. If you want to have your students fill this out, it's a really fun way to track how they're experiencing PACS and the change in their classroom. And you can kind of graph and chart this. I think it'd be a really cool tool for us to use so that the students are tracking the outcomes as well in this survey. So that's a really cool thing. Again, SDQ. Back in the day, we used to, I'm sure some folks on this call, some I remember when we used to ask them to fill out all these bubbles for each student, and then we collected data that way. We do not use this tool anymore either, because we have now SurveyMonkey collecting the prosocial scale for us, which is much more succinct and a better way for us to collect data than sending it somewhere. I think we used to send it up to Canada, and they ended up doing nothing with it. So, and then here's some print resources for you, which you can easily access. Family Intro to PACS, the 4th edition implementation rollout plan, that just goes week by week about what you can do to roll out PACS. Here's a customizable teacher introduction letter, which you can take and make it your own in terms of how to communicate with your teachers about becoming their partner. We've seen these two already. These are the recipe cards, and here they are all together if you want to just print one massive printout of it. I think it's like maybe 12 pages or something. And then here's that implementation feedback planning conversation that you can have one-on-one with a partner. Here's some brain science stuff to share for those teachers who aren't bought into PACS, but science might bring them into it. And then just some really great resources about how PACS is effective, both as a social emotional learning, through data, and through real world highlights of PACS. And these are the letters home to parents, which we highly suggest for this particular time that we're living with a lot of our parents doing a lot of the teaching for us while they're at home, about PACS and what it is to be a PACS leader. So the blog needs some adding to, which I'm sure will happen soon, but this is a really great website for everyone to use. So I'm gonna stop sharing and stop talking and just check in on any questions regarding the partner website. Okay.
There's a question in the chat about if there's a section for Spanish translations.
Great question. I don't know the answer to that if it's on the website, but we do have a lot of Spanish translation stuff on our end. So if you are looking for that, please do email us, and we can probably email it out to you. And if we don't have it, we'll get it from Paxis. But I don't think there's a lot of Spanish translation stuff on the website yet. But we can definitely get it to you.
Yeah, I think there are a few things that are translated. Some of those letters are, and they should be right there. They should be able to access those.
Let me check that. Yeah, those letters are definitely available in Spanish, but I don't know if they're on the website. Yeah, they're not on the website, but I know that we have them, or I think they might be on the actual goodbehaviorgame.com website. Is that sounding familiar to anyone?
Yes, that's where they are, Michelle. They're on the Good Behavior Game website.
Yeah. Okay. So if
the partners can access that.
I'm sorry. What was that, Bev? I'm sorry.
So the partners would have access to that as well. So.
Correct. Yeah.
So everybody should be able to get that.
Yeah. So the reproducibles on the goodbehaviorgame.org website would have those. So please do check into that for sure. That's under PAX Library Reproducibles. Again, you might have to sign up if you haven't in a while. So yeah, just take the time to do that, because I think all their systems have changed since the beginning. But you can definitely access those reproducibles on there. No, I don't know if I've recently signed up for them either, so I have to do that. So more Spanish stuff on goodbehaviorgame.org than on the partner site as of right now. Great question. Any other questions in the chat I've been missing? Bev, we were talking about the sustainability team meeting worksheet, and that's when I was referencing you. So I don't know if you wanted to add to anything about that sheet. I could share it again. People know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was having trouble hearing. I'm on both the computer and my phone.
Yeah. I know. This guy.
Yeah, I think when we talked about this last time a little bit too, it's sort of really like a motivational interviewing thing, you know, trying just to get the partners, to get the people to let you know what's really going well and what we can work on as a team, and just providing that really strong support. I don't think it's that different than what Hillary and Kate do right now. When they go in and work with everybody, this is sort of what's going well, what can we work with, what can we, you know, come up with. And so I think it's what's going on right now, but that's what's so important, because if we don't have those conversations, then we're not going to be able to sustain it. And so it's really nice to see us talking about this and being able to talk to the teachers about this, and then really get the administration also to be part of this. The sustainability team typically will have a partner, will have administration, and then then they can reach out to all the teachers. Mm-hmm. It's usually partners and admin on the sustainability team.
Awesome.
And so a lot of times also it's when you're meeting with the partner and the administrator, then it's more broad, and we'll talk about what's going well at the school. What are some struggles we might be having? What like, how do we want to address vision as a school? We're not seeing that being addressed in all the classrooms. So what can we do to make sure we get vision up and implemented? When can we roll out Toodles? When can we, so we try to schedule things as well as a school, so that we're rolling out at the same time, that the same concerns are being addressed. If we're not seeing, say, harmonica, PAX Quiet being used, then we can talk about that. But what I like to also focus on is what we're doing really well as a school. What are our strengths? And then set some goals. But administration needs to be part of that. However many partners, if you have an external and an internal partner, and then we can take it right into the classroom too. I like to see that sustainability happen in the classroom with the teachers as well, which is what Kate and Hillary are wonderful at doing. They do involve the administrator, they do involve the teachers. It's really a really strong practice that New Mexico is amazing at. And so, but that's basically what it is. It's getting the admin involved, it's talking about it as a school, and really focus on the strengths as well, and getting administration involved. So the administrator is wearing their harmonica. The administrator is recognizing the implementation of the vision, the implementation of PAX Quiet, the implementation of Granny Wacky prizes. Maybe the administrator can do a Granny Wacky prize as a school over the intercom. So there's a lot of stuff they can do to make this work. Does that help at all?
Yeah, that's super helpful. Thank you.
Do we have any questions on that from you guys?
Yeah, Mary Ann.
Question.
Yeah.
So when you first do it, it's mainly for the partners and the administrators to answer all the questions, and then later you would include the teachers?
Yeah, typically when we do a sustainability training, when we first train you in it, when Michelle does it with you guys, talking to the administrators, yeah, the sustainability, we want to first have just partners and administrators, because we want to all be saying the same thing, be on the same page. And so, and we want to make sure the administrators hearing what the partners want, and the partners and the administrators are connecting, and they have the same, they set the goals for the school. And so the administrator will have should have a good look at what's going on at the school. The partners definitely will. And so that's when you can sit down and say, what's really going well at our school and what do we really need to work on? So first you want to do it with just administration, on-site administration, I want to add to it. We don't need to have a superintendent involved. We want whoever's on-site working at that site to be part of the sustainability team. That's really crucial. It's the on-site team. Or if it's an external partner, but the external's on-site, comes on-site, that's also what I mean. And so it could be an external partner, an internal partner, and the administration of that school, whether it's admin, assistant admin. It might be a counselor. A lot of times we see the psych people, we see social workers, we see counselors, whoever's working at that school with that school can be part of that sustainability team.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Bev. Yeah, highly recommend that if it's possible for you to gain some support with some teachers who are really into PACS and help you roll it out at your school. I think it's a great idea. I'm going to shift gears to the app and then kind of roll through that semi-quickly because there's a lot of components and pieces to that. You ready for that, Kenz?
Yep. Let me jump over here and share my screen. Okay. So when you log in, this will be pretty much your go-to page. And to get back here, you can always come down here to teachers. And it'll also tell you here who you're impersonating. So the first thing you're gonna do, we've been using Angela. She's let us use her app for a while. So we're gonna click on her. And it's gonna say, do you wanna impersonate the teacher? I'm gonna say, okay. And it'll take us to here, but I'm gonna go back to our classes and teams. And this is the one that we've been using, the Cool Coop Kids Kindergarten. And as you can see, you can have multiple classes. You can add a class here and separate your teams like that. So we're gonna click on this one, and as you see, we've got it broken up into two already, the blue team and the salmon team. And then down here are all the students. Daffy Duck, Donald Duck, me, Kate, and there's these little codes right here, and this is what you can send home to your parents to get the parents hooked up to the kid on the parent app. And the way that you do that is you click this little PDF button here, and it'll pull up this letter. As you see, it's Daffy Duck, his class, and who the teacher is. And in here are instructions for the parent. After they download the app, they will type in this code, and it will connect the teacher with the parent. And that's how you can send Toodles home. That's how you can write notes. You can connect with the parent that way. And then if you go in here, you can edit your school or your class. So let me. And you can change the color of your team. You can delete the team. You can add a team. You can delete students here. You can add students. Here's where you can upload all your students from the file for Angela's class. And then the CSV form. CVS, yes. So that's pretty straightforward there. So once you've got all your classes set up, you make sure you're on the one that you want to be on, you can go to the game. And this is where you can have your 15 minutes. You can change the time if you want to a shorter game. But you're basically just going to hit play and count spleens in there. You can delete one if you made a mistake, right there. Oh, decrease, sorry. For play. So I accidentally hit 2 and it wasn't meant to be 2. You can hit the decrease button and you can go back to 1. Then you can start a new game, I guess, while you're playing it. I guess you reset it. There. And then please make sure you make a note here about the number of students that are in the class that day, so that it can do the math for you.
That's the spleen counter piece, Ken's, not the game piece.
Oh, sorry, the spleen counter piece. Thank you.
That's the next menu item.
The spleen counter, yes, sorry. Had a dog come up. This is where your spleen counter is. And this is where you want to make the note. My bad. And so for the beginning of the year, you want to be on baseline. At the end of the year, it would be full game. And if you choose to do middle of the year spleen counts, which we don't require, you can use the kernels button for that. And we like to do whole class counter. The target child counter is good for those SAT kids and the kind of higher needs level kiddos. And then here is where you play the game and count the spleens. And then there's your decrease button here if you accidentally tap it.
Question, please. How do we assign for a specific child for us to count the kernel?
So you can't assign the child because that would just mess with some confidentiality issues. But if you hit that target counter, child counter, Kenz, can you do that?
It'll let me.
You might have to reset the game or reset the counter, I mean.
Yeah, I don't think I think you have to start that way. I don't think you can change it in the middle.
And then reset it. Why is it?
Yeah. Now you can, yeah. So you just have to know the child that you're counting and be able to track that target data for that student. And it's similar to like what we saw on that game board where you click on different things depending on team. Now the target child's that green area right there. So you're counting their spleens and the class spleens as two different counts.
Because I've been trying this before. I'm trying to count the spleen for that particular child because I'm using that for my documentation for possible referral for assessment. But then it couldn't save and I don't see any data. Although I've been doing for so many times, I couldn't use the data for that purpose. So that's why I'm wondering how efficient and effective this data to use, because if I want to use that as an evidence that I'm actually monitoring and I'm trying to use the data from spleen counting for that particular child, I couldn't use it.
Right.
So
that's actually, that ends up being in the reports section is where you're going to look for the target data. Is that what you mean?
yes, because it's gone. Once I just, spleen counted the child. After that, after a while, after I exited from that app, the data is gone. It vanished. It doesn't stay long or, to be able for me to really reproduce it.
So if you're looking at the reports board, do you see the spleens target child?
Yeah, I saw that one. But for that particular child, I don't see anything because I've been counting the child and I don't know why I see that for a moment, but as soon as I come back, I couldn't see the recorded data at all.
That is really interesting. So I would not know what's going on there. That would be a question for Miriam at Paxos to check in on. Two things that I think might be happening. One is the date range might be off, and you might want to check on those date ranges to make sure that you're including, from your first count to present, because those date ranges often shift without us knowing. The second thing is that when you are doing the spleen count, it only records when the timer's done. So you have to meet to the end of the timer. If you do it 1 second before, it won't record. The timer has to come to a stop and then it records. So those are the two things I think might be happening. If not, if this is a real concern, then I would definitely go to that support button in the lower left-hand corner there and write down or write an email to Miriam, who should be able to track where that data might have gone. That is fascinating. I don't know what's going on there, Larnie.
Yeah,
hopefully
I'm trying to utilize that to be consistent, that I am utilizing PAX because that's what I include it in my PDP whenever I make a documentation for a particular child in my SAT and possible referral for special ed. I wanted to use that to show that I'm using the resources consistently, but then when I'm trying to pull out the documentation, it's gone. It's not there. I am thinking about, since we cannot assign a child for its particular name, just like what we do with a teen, that's probably the cause why it's not in there to, to access. So I'm just wondering how effective this data resource for PACS, so that we can actually utilize it in a way that is more effective and efficient
Yeah,
for
that's
documentation purposes.
right. I mean, it's a really great question. In terms of being able to assign a child, I think they just don't want to do that because they want to keep it fairly confidential on the app, and it's not. I mean, we have student names in the roster so that we can do the sticks piece, really. But other than that, I don't think we want to track individual student data on a device like this with their name attached to it. So it's okay if you know it, but yeah,
because
it's a really great question to ask,
yeah,
which we can do. I think I
because
saw Anthony's hand up.
the district coach, is in here, is actually requiring the teachers that we have to use that for documentation and for all those things for specific students. So she's telling all the students that the teachers that utilize that app, that can be your proof as your documentation and evidence. So I'm just trying to stand for everybody, for the teachers here being pushed to use that.
Yeah,
for future, documentation. And I want to give them a fair, chance of using, and at the same time using it effectively when it is being pushed by the district.
right. Yeah. So let's check in with Miriam on that and see what we can find out about why that's not tracking.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And Michelle, we can play with it a little. I haven't had trouble with it, so we'll go ahead and play with it, and then the next time we get on here, we'll let you know what we found out. We'll practice with it, because if you've tried the two things Michelle said, that's usually where we've seen errors, is the calendar time, and then also not going to the exact ending time. So let us play with it at home, see what happens, and we'll get back to you on that. And otherwise, get hold of Miriam as well, because I haven't seen problems with it. So we'll give them a shot.
Can I just ask a quick question?
I was going to say that you should just make that kid its own team. Whoever the one you're targeting, give them the Tigers or whatever name, and that one student has their own team name. And you could track it with the data that way when you have to track it.
Yeah, that's another good way to do it. But again, you want to make sure that you're looking at, doing that via kernels as your, condition, and also making sure that you go to the end of the time and you look at those date ranges. Great. Yeah, thanks.
Real quick, what do you mean by the end of the time? I'm not sure what you guys are meaning by that. Like, you mean you're stopping the game early?
Yeah, so sometimes we find that partners, teachers, whoever, at 1 second left, they like clock out of the whole thing, and then it doesn't record.
Okay.
Or something like that. They're like, oh, well, it's almost done, and we don't want to hear the harmonica blow. Or,
oh, okay, got it.
We want to avoid whatever it is. There's lots of different circumstances and situations.
Okay, got it.
So if you're not going to that whole 0 point, then it doesn't record. Great question.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
With 2 minutes left, I'm going to kind of go through the rest of this pretty quickly. A lot of it's self-explanatory. You've got your timer here, another place to make notes. You could do the stopwatch or the timer. You have 2 different options. Granny's going to kind of go around this little circle in a fun way until the time's up. Granny's Wacky Prizes in here. You can customize your own. You can pick ones that you like and get rid of the ones that you don't like. You can filter them out by your favorites, stationary ones, you know, active ones, the small groups, individual partners, or the whole class. Basically, you can decide and pick which ones you want and don't want. And as you see back here, it's already auto updating. The harmonica, there we go.
Great big sleeper, John.
The Packs to the Max music is on here. The kids really like it. It's a little cheesy. It's funny. It makes me laugh, but the kids love it. So you can play that here for your Granny's Wacky Prize, or, you know, if you're doing dance party or something. Here's your sticks. And auto populates a stick for you. Michelle, it's you. Reports we kind of talked about briefly. That's where you can see all your spleen counts. The survey reports are from the implementation survey that we do not require, and we don't ask that you fill that out for us. We will not look at it. This is kind of look to see more reports as a whole. It's just a little bit more detailed, I guess. Actually, I don't really know the difference between this one and this one, Michelle.
So one of the big things that we really want you guys to possibly look at, and if you want to, is if you go to reports and detailed, spleen count detailed, right there, not the target. This tells you all the people you've done. So yay, you've done them. and then you don't have to call Kenzie and be like, can you tell me who I've done? I mean, she doesn't mind so much, but it is a possibility for you to do that on your own, just by going to your reports page.
The reports global one.
Yeah. So.
And again, make sure your dates in here are the dates that you did your spleen counting, or else you won't see. That
is the most important piece. Absolutely.
And make sure all this stuff is correct. I have no idea what this is, but that's who I am.
I actually don't think, I think that partners might have access to reports, but not reports global, and it's similar.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I just
one?
looked on my app and I don't have reports global.
Yeah, so they only have reports. Kenzie, if you click reports, and then you could go to, maybe you can't do that. Spleen count.
No.
Oh, because you have to do it by teacher. That's right. Because you're just looking at Angela's class right now, because you're impersonating them. So you can only click support reports for the teacher that you have listed as doing a partner or doing a spleen count for. But if you go down your list there, we should click on PACS notes home, because I think that was a question that was on there. This is a way you can write your parents. So you can add a note. There's your Cool Coop Kids team. You click OK. And you want to write a note home to Daffy Duck's parents. You compose a message. There's some templates for you that you can click on. And then you can add to, and you can even add a picture and send that message on. So that's how you do the Toodle Notes home. In terms of whether a parent reads it or not, if they're not responding back to you, I'm not quite sure you could see that it was read. Does anybody else know whether that's true or not? Yeah. We can look into that question for you as well. It's a great question. I'll write these questions down. Okay.
Yeah, because believe it or not, I'd send all this stuff home to the parents, which was challenging because I'm not real techie. Mm-hmm. But I could never tell if anybody looked at them or if they got the app or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll ask about that.
Okay. Thank you.
Great question. And then, yeah, you want to go into that, Ken's?
Yep, the last thing we have here are visits, and this is basically who you met with and what you did when you were at the visits. We can add a visit here. Gray. Why is it gray? Can I not do a visit?
No, because no visit has been done. You should be able to add a visit though. I don't know what's going on. Are you still impersonating Angela?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Well, it should work, but it's not.
Yeah, you should be able to add a visit here and then, you know, talk about what you talked about, how long you talked about it, teacher you talked with, and then you'll have this list of visits that you have. It's a great way to keep track and take note of things. If you don't want to do some of those printed out handouts, you could take notes here right on the app.
And of course, you can go to help or support here to contact Miriam, and then log out when you're done if you want to, but you don't always have to.
And one of the big things that we always talk about, I know we're 5 minutes after here, but just remembering that when you're doing your spleen counts, to change who you're impersonating by going back to that teacher fold menu item and making sure that you re-impersonate who you need to. And at the beginning of every year, because there is teacher turnover, and this takes some time to load, so if you're seeing something blank and you're just waiting here for a while, that sometimes happens.
Lots of teachers.
Yeah, so to hit that edit button is really, really important at the beginning of every school year, so you can select and unselect teachers who have come on and left. So that edit button is going to be really important for you at the beginning of every year when you have turnover of staff. Cool. 6 minutes late. I know some people had to duck out to be on time for their next call, but just want to get all that in. Any